What's up guys, welcome back to Fancy Goldfish Fanatics. Today we're going to be setting up a hospital tank and I'm going to be showing you how I set up my hospital tanks. So make sure you stay tuned to find out more. Hey Fanatics family, welcome back. As always, check out those links in the description and make sure you've joined our Facebook group. As I said, today I'm going to be setting up a hospital tank because you may have watched one of the previous episodes that I did on Epsom salt, and that fish unfortunately hasn't recovered after a few baths of the Epsom salt. It hasn't recovered, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, bath treatments really aren't my favourite. So I'm going to be setting up the hospital tank behind me, trying a few different methods, some salt in the tank and a few treatments to see if we can get this fish to make a full recovery. Otherwise it's not going to be looking too good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the tank set up behind me. I'm going to show you the different pieces of equipment, the different ways I like to do things, and just in general how it's best to set up a hospital tank. So first things first, we're going to need a tank. Now this is around a 40-litre tank, and this is about a good size for a hospital tank. Ideally I'd probably be looking at something around 70 litres for a 4 to 6 inch fish. However, this one's going to be perfect if you've got sort of a 2 to 3 inch fish, just right if you've only got one fish that needs a hospital tank. But unfortunately this tank is going to be a little bit small for my fish because it's quite large, but it's going to be better than nothing, and I'm going to make sure to keep an eye on those water parameters and do sort of water changes every other day, something like that. Every 2 to 3 days I'll be doing big 80% water changes on it, and really keeping an eye on the tank, so it is okay to use a smaller tank. The next thing we're going to need is a heater. So a heater is ideal for a hospital tank. As we're going to be treating our fish because it's in hospital, the best way to treat a fish is to get its immune system at an optimal level, and that is why I like to use a heater. The other benefit is obviously this is a small volume of water and your house temperature may be fluctuating, so without a heater the water temperature could be fluctuating and stressing out a fish. So I'm going to be using this heater in the hospital tank, and I'm going to be keeping it at around 24.5 to 25 degrees to really get the immune system of the fish in optimal condition. Now if you watched my previous video, you will see that I made my own DIY filter, and that was actually for this instance. So we've got the DIY filter in the back corner of the aquarium, and this is just going to help with keeping that ammonia and nitrate down. Now, although the fish is probably not going to be eating much at all, maybe a little bit of food, and I'm going to be doing those regular water changes, this tiny filter will just help keep the waste out of the tank, keep the water nice and clear, and break down any little ammonia buildup that's there. Also, the added benefit of using this kind of filter is it has the included air stone, which is going to add lots of oxygen for that water. And obviously with the heat, the oxygen's going to be at a lower level. If the water was colder, the oxygen would be at a higher level. So it's good to use that air stone because it's really going to increase oxygen saturation. And as we know, for all life to get better, it needs oxygen, as this is a key important component. So next up we're going to need the air pump. Now this is going to power our filter. However, if you have a separate filter like a canister filter, that would be really good. It's really good to over filter these hospital tanks, so a canister or a big internal filter would be great, and you can even use the air pump for some extra air stones in the corners. Now I'm not going to set the tank up in this video because it's pretty self-explanatory. However, I'm going to run through a few little treatments that I would use and consider. As my fish is not looking too happy and I don't like to use chemicals unless I really have to, one of the things I will use is salt, just the standard NaCl, not the magnesium sulfate Epsom salt, just the standard salt. And I'm probably going to be adding this at around 0.6. So that's going to be 6 grams per litre or 6 parts per thousand. It is quite a high level of salt, but this fish is really on its last legs, and we really need to try something a bit more drastic now. It hasn't responded to that Epsom salt treatment, so we're really going to have to try and step it up, maybe even go up to 0.7, 0.8 to really help let that fish relax, take the stress off its internal organs, and really help it balance its osmoregulatory system. Maybe there's an internal bacterial infection, so we could use some aquaflavin, which is really good. We could use some methylene blue, however this will really knock back the filter, so we really need to keep an eye on our hospital tank. Keep an eye on those water parameters, that ammonia and nitrite buildup that will definitely occur, especially if you're adding lots of food. However, with a large filter and an over-filtered hospital tank, this will really help keep those levels down. So another treatment we could use, if this fish has got parasites, we could use a mix of malachite and aquaflavin, or aquaflavin I should say. However, if this fish has parasites, the chances are all of your fish has got parasites, so it is better to do that kind of treatment within the main tank. Now, other treatments may include topical treatments. If your fish is injured or damaged, maybe it's got a big wound, the other fish might be picking on it, and that might be suitable to go in the hospital tank as well. So it's good to use a disinfectant like iodine or ulcer swab to help get those bacterial numbers out of the wound or the damaged area, and then we can seal that with maybe propolis or adhesive powder, which is a powder that you get in a small bottle that you can put onto the wound, and it helps provide that preventative barrier from bacteria entering the fish, and that is another good thing to look at. I will probably in the future do a video all specifically on topical treatment and different goldfish wounds, so that will probably come in the future, but those are a few things that I would recommend in the hospital tank. And it's also good to keep up with those water changes, as I always say, and keep an eye on those water parameters. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to get the fish out of the tank. I'm going to get this hospital tank filled up with the water from the tank, because that's exactly what the fish has been used to, and then I'm going to slowly ramp up that temperature over the next couple of days to around 25 degrees where I'm happy with it, and then I'm going to add some treatments to the water and try and get the fish back to normal. Now, I'm not going to be using this media in the filter. I'm going to be using cycled media out of the canister filter, because otherwise there will be no beneficial bacteria within the hospital tank, and we would definitely get ammonia and nitrite problems. So I'll fill up the tank with established tank water. I will use the beneficial bacteria that is in my current filter, and then I will move the fish in and slowly increase that temperature to the desired level, and then I will start adding treatments and keeping an eye on the water quality. So that's it for this video. I hope it's been quite informative, not too jam-packed with lots of action unfortunately, but thank you all for watching. Remember to keep those water changes up, and happy fish keeping.